We got a few minutes here. We'll let people trickle in and join me in a cup of morning coffee. I need to shave again. Decided I didn't want this mustache. I got one of those stupid 5-blade razors. Can't cut through the stubble. It just can't. So, almost worthless. Oh, what was I going to do? I was going to go over here to my copy of the old Black's Law Dictionary. That's under freedom.
Oh, stick close to your family. Whoa! That's a big family. Where's everybody going?
Out of the reef, deep water. That way we'll be safe from the big storm.
Big storm? What big storm?
One that's heading this way, mister.
There's a storm coming. I better make sure everyone in the reef is safe. So long, matey. Yow! You sure have a big,
So, yeah.
little lobster.
Thanks, mister. See ya. Mom! Mom! You said I have a big breath. That's nice, dear.
There's a big storm on the way, and you've got to get back to the octopus before it gets here.
Aye, somebody do a quick check of the reef to make sure everyone's safe. Don't worry, Captain. I'll get back before the storm gets here.
Captain, the storm is coming quick. It's only 10 minutes away.
Bozzy, we'll keep the Octo hatch open as long as we can.
Thanks, Captain. Yow! Sea urchin in trouble.
Ozzy, the storm is 9 minutes away.
Aye, aye. Gotcha. Almost done here.
Okay, so what is color of law? Well, the color of law in law is a falsehood assumed for the point of making a plea. So this is like when the state pretends that you harmed the state in order to file a state versus someone criminal case. Criminal cases must have a harmed party. And so they have to assume that you harmed the state in order to bring the crime to trial. Well, one of the things that they do is also color or office in criminal law. A wrong committed by an officer under the pretended authority of his office. In some cases, the act amounts to a misdemeanor, and the party may then be indicted. In other cases, the remedy to redress the wrong is by an action. So what is happening? Well, if if a law has been struck down, like say the income tax, the federal government after the 1890s, the Supreme Court struck down the income tax that was passed in the 1870s, and so then when Wilson got in and got the income tax amendment passed, the Supreme Court again found it added no new power to tax. And what does that do? Well, so what did they do? How did they get the income tax to be followed by so many people? Well, the simple part of it is they looted. They let the law be made, and Congress can make laws for two types of laws. They can make federal laws. They also can make administrative laws with the same, with sovereign power over the territories. So one of the ways they make a color law is by making it over the sovereign, the territories that Congress administers directly. The U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the District of Columbia, and several other federal territories. And I think the military bases are ceded to the federal government on lease, and so are administered under federal law. But if it's unconstitutional, that means that it cannot apply in the several states. And yet, the income tax is obviously applied to several states. Well, what did they do to get around that? Well, they wrote the definitions of a state. And in law, when you do an include in a definition, it is only those things included. After I finish up this, Kenneth. Oh, I'm so sorry. We'll get you hot chocolate after we finish up this. It's okay. Calm down. See, you're on TV. Come on. Get a hold of yourself, buddy. It's okay. It's only a little delay. Okay. So they made the states include only the federal territories, which were already under the income tax anyway. And then they included the word state. And then they also defined the word state to include the federal territories. So state under the income tax law is only the federal territories, and states under the income tax law is only all of the federal territories. And it's a dodge. It's a double definition dodge to hide the fact under plain language that the states are not under the federal income tax law. And most people are, according to the federal income tax, a non-resident alien, because it says that anybody who's a non-resident alien can volunteer to pay the income tax. And resident aliens are charged differently. And the volunteering is by filing a W-2 and filing a federal income tax form. If you don't do those things, they can't come after you. If you never filed a W-2, they cannot come after you. And despite what happened to Al Capone, who didn't know this and didn't know how to defend himself against it. They had no jurisdiction over Al Capone in income tax. What, Kenneth? Oh, you know how to take your pants off to pee?
I don't have any food.
You can do it. Do you need please first, right?
Here's some stones.
What are you doing?
What's the
I'm so
matter?
curious. Is this
You
what
said you needed to pee, right? Is that better? Okay. He's still a little bit tired. So similar things have occur in traffic. Okay, so the income tax is mostly looting under color of law. Most people think they need to, and so they file a W-2 because every employer just naturally hands them out because they've been told they need to.
My salary's gonna be delicious.
Whatever, actually, you should be filing an I-8 or something.
Yes, this is
Uh,
sure to last us
statement
all
of
winter long.
non-resident alien status. And they'll take out still the FICA tax, which is not an income tax and has different rules.
We haven't went to a Pokemon or a Pokemon for like a week. Battling all those Pokemon was sure tired.
The other thing that a lot of places are doing is stopping everybody on the road for a traffic citations when there's no harmed party. In this case, what they're doing is under color of law because the law, the Supreme Court has ruled that the right to travel is an individual right and everybody has it, and you can't, and no officer of the law can stop a citizen from traveling. And that includes traveling by conveyance, like an automobile. So what they do is they write the law as if it applies to everyone, and everybody behind the wheel of operating a motor vehicle is a driver, and then and then all the things that a driver has to do. This is under color of law because a driver must be only a commercial driver. They can do this to a commercial person because that is a privilege. It is a privilege to do a commercial transact, to use the public roads for your business. It is, the public roads are for the public to use in their daily lives, not for business. So if you are driving for work, you are a driver. If you are driving for yourself, even to get to work, you are not driving, according to the Supreme Court. But they pull you over as if you are driving, and most people don't know enough to tell the cop, I'm not driving, this is a private conveyance, and I'm not under the law. I don't know why you are stopping me. I didn't hurt anyone. Well, I'm going to put this to the test this week. I'm going to challenge their jurisdiction on the driving using this Supreme Court rulings. And after we clear up first the authority of the judge and the authority of the cop and the ability, if the cop and the judge aren't real cops or judges because they didn't file their paperwork right, well then I don't. There's nothing to say. You can impeach the authority of someone in court much easier. You have to do these things as a first step. You have to challenge the locational jurisdiction and get the prosecutor to actually state where the definition of the state is and describe the state geographically. And it's a pain in the ass to get him to do it, but you have to do it, or you are acceding to the color of law.
No place to sleep. either.
All right, well, peace and joy to you and everyone else.
John Deere tractor, do you have any solar replace this week?